This is Margaret Lim, and this is the continuation of the PFD process of dipole antennas. So the next step will be the screwing of the terminal connector block to the boom. And we have the risk of getting caught, and its classification falls under safety. We have to prevent by using PPE and using proper illuminations, therefore it falls under its OSH regulations. This is an example of screwing the terminal connector block to the boom. The next step is the sheeting of the coaxial cable. We still have the risk of getting cut. However, it differs from the OSH regulations since we will have a hand-arm protection and welding or cutting. So, in order to avoid this, we have to use gloves. The next step will be connecting the coaxial cable to the terminal block. Now we have the risk of getting electrocuted, and it falls under physical. And its OSH regulations includes electrical installation, PPE, and electrical safety inspection. Its preventive measures include proper handling of materials and lighted workplace to be able to see if wires are shorted. This is an example of the coaxial cable, and we can see the person is using their bare hands, and it's very vulnerable to cuts. The next step will be the sealing of the connection of coaxial cable and terminal block. It has the risk of getting burned from soldering the cables and terminal blocks, and it falls under the physical classification. We have to prevent it and use gloves in order to protect oneself from being burned, and we have an OSH regulation of PPEs, hand-arm protection, electrical installation, and electrical safety inspection and illumination. We can see here the connection of coaxial cable and the terminal block. The next step will be the testing of the finished antenna. We have to use the proper equipment since we also have the risk of getting electrocuted, and it falls under safety and physical. It has the same the OSH regulations. This is an example of a finished antenna, and we can see that the person can be very vulnerable to electrocution. The next step will be the putting of zip ties. We have the risk of getting cut since zip ties can be very sharp at the end. We still have welding or cutting, PPEs, illumination, hand-arm protection. Of course, we have to use proper protective equipment or gloves. We also have to print user manuals and specifications, and it still has hazards of using a defective material and being electrocuted if not inspected surely. We have OSH regulations of electrical installation, PPEs, electrical safety inspection. And we have to use working materials to not be vulnerable to hazards. The next step will be the boxing of the product, and we have the risk of getting backache, and its classification falls under safety, and its OSH regulations falls under general provisions. We have to properly handle the materials, as well as the next step of wrapping the box with bubble wrap. We still have to carry it with our legs, not our back. And this is the end of our discussion.